Hello, everybody. As you can see, I am working hard at this piece. And okay, so after I got off with you guys yesterday, I did more here. And you can see, I can see where, like, see how this tone and this tone are all by identical. Okay. And I said in an earlier video that I do want to have this like here, 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 here. I want it darker. Now that I have this tone in here, I can now determine how much darker I want this to be. And because I didn't go too dark when I initially did it, I can now put another layer on top of it because I don't want it to be jet black. And I want it more like since this is like a light gray, I want this to be a medium gray or a warm gray as opposed to a cold gray. So I'm just going to go in. So during this video, that's what I'm going to do is I'm just working on this area and putting the extra layer of the tone in. So did you guys like our joke last night? Yes, we're in the chat. That was when we did that where we were still streaming and we see as acting as if the show was over and we're just bullshitting after the show. That was all planned. We had planned that out, probably 2, 3 weeks ago. We planned that out. And we thought it was entertaining. Now, I got a DM from somebody going, "Hey, Vaughn, do you guys realize you guys are still streaming?" And apparently, Amanda, a lot of people are reaching out to Amanda to tell her that the show's still on. Vanessa, she got a lot of uh, her DMs were blowing up, and that was all planned. That was not an impromptu thing to do. It was completely planned, but we had fun. I supposedly, I guess I haven't watched it. I guess Amanda or Vanessa fessed up to the chat afterwards when the show was over or when we were done doing that. So, but no, that was all planned. We had fun doing that. So, and I'm sure I'm sorry, Vanessa. She's now doing her binder pages and putting her cards in order because hey, she's having fun. So guess what? She wins. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about was based on the conversation we had last night on the chat, and that was about AI art. Okay, and part of it is, I mean, I see both sides of it. Okay, when I look at it from the artistic side, yeah, I do look at where it's like it's it's a cheat. Okay, but when you look at but then also you look at it from the commercial art side. Because remember, from a commercial art side, there's you have to be creative, but the execution is just got to get the job done and move on to the next job. Which means that if the competition is using tools that give them an edge and you're not using them because of a personal bias, then you're falling behind. And I look at AI in many ways as the same thing. And I look at it this way also is that I think they've got was it 3D art where you type in that you want a F-150 and it just brings up an image of an F-150 and then you can take that F-150 and rotate it to whatever angle you want and then you can go from there. And I know a lot of people do. Billy talks about it, and we all know, like I've said it numerous times, how Graham has been doing it with vehicles. You take a look at Ghost of Matacumba Key, uh, the excavator, the truck, multiple trucks, the the boat, all those shots of actual mechanical things. Graham's pulling them from a 3D build a create or whatever the tool is to find the angle and plop him in place, and then he draws over it how he wants it. He puts, depending on how much detail he puts into the truck, would depend on how close the image is, how large is the truck in the shot. And so I kind of look at it the same way. And where I was talking about was when I was saying like AI art is using it as a tool, kind of like how we as artists, you have the ability, you can buy a mannequin that you manipulate into the pose that you want, and then you draw it, and then you use that so that way you have like the proportions correct when you're doing foreshortening, and you have an idea that you have much better with the anatomy and everything. I kind of look at 3D art or AI art as using that. And this is how I look at it. Okay. Yes, there is the you're just using it as a cheat because you learn by learning how to draw foreshortening, you get better at it. But remember also, because I remember this when I was younger and I was before I went to school for art or for comic book art, uh, I did a little bit where I'd copy John Byrne and I draw like Superman just the way he would draw, and I would show it to people, and they'd be like, "Why are you copying that person? Just do your own Superman." Not realizing and not realizing that by copying artists as a kid, you are learning their tricks for doing foreshortening and doing angles and proportions. And really, it's no different than I look at it as, and no different than using AI to create. Let's say I'm doing a paratrooper from World War II, okay, and I have I dictate the angle. It's an up shot, medium shot, whatever. He's got his gun in, like this gun isn't. He's not holding his gun. His gun's like in his equipment, uh, like tucked in front of, like tucked in behind his front parachute. Because remember, World War II paratroopers had two parachutes. They had the parachute in their back, and then they had a parachute in their front. So what if I have him running with the parachute on the back has been discharged? It's not on him anymore, but the one on front is still on him, and he's got his a gun behind that parachute. AI does that work and figures it out, and then from there, you can either use that image or you use that as reference material to draw it yourself. Think of it this way, okay? I'm using this calendar, okay, as reference material for drawing this lighthouse. Okay, so right here's so here I'll lean this down so you can see. Okay, so how is different is this from an AI image if I'm going to use that AI image as reference for this? Do you get what I'm saying? So if I go in the computer and I want a World War II soldier, and I want the angle of him jumping out of the airplane, and it's a down shot looking up at him. So here's his waist, here's his spread legs, here's his body here. His hands are up holding the straps for the parachute lines. Okay, if AI creates that image and then I reference it as I was almost like doing a still life here, okay, it's not going to be identical. But I'm going to use that image to use as reference for so I can then draw, okay, this is how the knee sits on his body. And here's how, so this is how his knee sits on his body. And the leg comes forward. The foot is here. Okay. It's no different than it's no different using AI that way. It's no different than hiring a model, sitting them on a chair that's like or stacked on top of boxes, and they're posed in that, and then you take the photograph, and then you use that photograph to create the image. So that's how I'm looking at AI, is using it as a reference tool as opposed to how most people look at it as doing all the work for you. Because let's be honest, everybody's stuff is going to look exactly the same if everybody's just using an AI image and they're not doing anything to manipulate it. Most importantly is you take a look at how, like, one of the things that we are so critical of these days is you have these writers who are activists, and you have these artists who are like activists first, and they're not very creative. And the angles of the shots that they're doing are all the same. They're like medium shots, and they're all like the same angle of like a front shot or a three-quarter shot. There's no down shots, no up shots. They don't pull back far. Many times they'll just pull back so it's a full body shot, and they don't pull all the way back so that in one panel they're this big and in your face, and the next panel they're litty bitty. Okay, you as the artist control that creativity, and I think that's where if you use it, so if you have an activist creator, okay, and they are all about doing their message, they're looking at they're not looking at the creative side of it, of what do you need to do, because your creativity and your imagination is still going to make your stuff stand out against standard AI images. Because you got to keep in mind, what is AI learning from? Okay, even if all the artwork and all creation is given to that AI machine, okay, currently, even if you're saying, I want this done, I want Superman rescuing a cat from a tree, and I want them done in Franklin Booth style, okay, it's still going to be limited because of how it interprets the information. That's why so much of this stuff, AI wise, even when you ask for a comic book image, it still has that slight digital painted look to it. So that's how I'm looking at how you use AI as a. I'm sorry. Use AI as a tool, as a prime, as I was saying, a reference tool, not as a execution tool. So with that, I don't have a problem with it. And here's the other thing also is that um, we'll use this as the example. Okay, we have these people in our space: Graham Nolan, Aaron Lopresti. Okay, creating books. That's what they do for a living. Okay, but then you also have a lot of other artists who they're weekend warriors, as Malin put it. They're hobbyists. They just don't have the time to put all the hours in to learn this stuff because they work regular jobs. So, how do you bridge that gap between the artist that does this stuff every single day, and this is all they do for a living, versus the person that's just working on it during the weekend? The person that's just working on this stuff on the weekends and the evenings, okay, you don't have the time to put in all the hours to stay caught up with everybody. So if you have this tool that kind of does some of the work for you, then as long as you're using it as I look at it as long as you're using it as reference, and you're not using it as, okay, push a few buttons, boom, there's the image, move on to the next image. Okay, I view it as, if I use it and I then use it as like a still life or reference so I can draw it myself to help me, that's going to help me out. And over time, you're creating, as Andy Smith puts it, you are still creating muscle memory. So that way, over time, you will get better that you don't need to. I mean, perfect example is you take a look at a lot of the stuff I do, you can see where it's like he's referencing really heavy how he does those faces. Yeah, but over time, what happens is I learn that. So that way, when I have to draw a face and I don't have the reference material, those faces have the similar features. One of the things I look at is how, okay, you know how you've got the human eye, okay, and how there's the fold of skin between the eye socket or the eyeball and the eyelid and the eyebrow, and how the older you get, the more of that flesh builds up, and then as it folds over the eyelid. Okay, I'm noticing how to do that from referencing so much. So, like looking at images like Will Smith or Belushi, you get a much better idea of how do you put. Because when I do that, I don't. If I'm looking at an image of Will Smith, okay, I'm not trying to draw Will Smith. I'm not trying to draw it so it looks just like him. I'm looking at it so to see how the facial structure is on that skeleton, and that's how I look at it. I don't try to make it look just like Will Smith, but I'll still use the reference of his facial construction. So, but that's where I stand on it. I mean, you tell me, okay? Give me a like and comment and let me know. Am I right? Am I wrong? I'd like to hear from all of you guys, not just Marcus. I know Marcus, you're gonna probably comment. Thank you very much for like, hey, Citizen Ronin, what do you feel? Because I mean, especially someone like Citizen Ronin, who does a lot of that pulp style stuff, and a lot of that pulp stuff, when you look at it, it has that uh, using a model, using photo reference look and feel to it. So if you're using AI to create that image to then use as a reference, is that valid? Let me know, Citizen Ronin. So, and everybody else who's normally in the chat on Saturday nights and you're watching my videos, uh, give me just give me a short comment of yeah, I agree, or just a high comment. That way, I can, when I do videos, I can reference you particularly directly with my comments as if I was doing a live stream from the previous video. So, guys, I'm gonna keep working here. So, you guys all have a great day. Remember, life is stressful, but you just take it all one dot at a time.